So mobile malware has been getting a considerable amount of attention, especially recently, and I think that is due to the fact that the proliferation of mobile devices has gone up, and so more and more people do have smart devices with them all the time. And I think at the same time, it is important to keep in mind that the concept of malware running on a mobile device, it should hardly come as a surprise to anybody. It really shouldn't be a shock. I mean, after all, a mobile device is basically a computer. In fact, it's interesting, mobile devices today have more powerful computers on them. They have much more processing power than a typical desktop from not that long ago, maybe about 10 to 15 years ago. And even more so, when you think about it, because mobile devices are computers that run software, the possibility of that software being malicious becomes very real. Now, even though mobile devices have been around for a while, and even though we've seen a significant recent uptick in malicious mobile software instances, their volume is still dwarfed by that of PC-based malware. And I think that to give you some idea of the magnitude of the numbers, in the last year, this is 2011, we've seen in the thousands of mobile malware instances. So these are unique files that represent mobile malware. Okay, unique mobile malware instances. Okay, and when you compare that in the PC world, we are literally seeing hundreds of millions of PC-based malware. And so obviously mobile malware is still many orders of magnitude smaller as a problem overall. Okay, so hundreds of millions of PC-based malware instances in a given year. And this number clearly has just been going up for quite some time, but I think it's going to start to taper off at some point because it's been growing at this exponential rate for quite a while. But I think in terms of mobile malware, really at the beginning, we're kind of at an inflection point in many ways in terms of their volume. And I want to kind of touch upon why that is the case. Why is it the case that we're only seeing a small amount of mobile malware right now? And is that always going to be the case, or are we really kind of at the beginning of a much broader trend? So to begin with, I think the big thing to keep in mind with mobile malware, and really with malware in general, is that malware authors and distributors, so maybe people who make malware for a living, malware authors and also people who distribute malware, and distributors are really driven, let me spell that out, distributors. Mobile malware authors and distributors are really driven mostly by financial considerations. They basically want to make money. Everything they're doing right now, for the most part, is profit-driven. Now, that's not everyone, but a large part of the ecosystem in malware is driven by folks who are trying to make a profit. And when you think about it, a single piece of software written for a PC, let's say on the Windows operating system, can potentially be executed on hundreds of millions of PCs. Now, in contrast to that, there is no one comparably dominant mobile standard. So in effect, the addressable market segment, I'm going to write that down, the addressable market segment, addressable market for mobile is still relatively small, okay, compared to PCs at least. Now that's going to be changing, I think, in the near term, but we'll talk about that briefly later. The second big thing is that mobile malware is relatively new. It's a greenfield endeavor, and malware authors in the mobile space don't have years of legacy code to deal with. So they don't have tens of thousands of lines of legacy code that they can take and morph and make into new malware. On the flip side, in the PC-based world and PC-based malware, the whole malware creation process nowadays can be largely automated. There are many malware toolkits out there that you can literally take, open up, enter in what features you want in your malware, and it'll generate a sample for you. And even more so, a lot of these toolkits will even automate the process of testing that sample against all the known vendors, and will keep doing it until you find something that until it finds something that's not detected by anybody. So they can keep generating unique instances until something finally goes undetected. And what that means is that the cost to develop mobile malware is much higher. So maybe there's a higher cost to develop compared to PC-based malware, and as a result, the profitability of mobile-based malware will not be as high. The profit margins won't be as good, and when profit margins go down, malware authors start looking elsewhere. Okay, now these two, I guess, profit-related characteristics dominate why I believe mobile malware hasn't yet proliferated. At the same time, there are, I think, a number of counterbalancing trends that are worth noting. And I think the first big counterbalancing trend is that we are starting to see now things like Android and iOS become more and more popular. I mean, we're literally seeing many, many millions, hundreds of millions of instances of Android and iOS in the world. And so as they become more popular and start to overtake the PC in terms of popularity, we'll start to see that the market share won't be as much of an issue for mobile malware authors. And so we're going to start to see more activity in that area. And I think that's why we're starting to see a big uptick recently. The second thing is that in comparison to the PC world, mobile anti-malware is not as common. So mobile anti-malware, for two reasons. One is certainly there are fewer technologies available that you can buy for putting on your phone to protect against malware. And moreover, even if there were a lot of technologies out there, it's still going to be a while before people start to adopt those technologies. I think very few people I know have any type of anti-malware offering running on their phone. And so what that means from the perspective of the malware authors, if they create a new piece of malware, there's a better chance that malware will go undetected on a given system. And so I think for these two reasons, we're going to start to see, and these two reasons are becoming more and more important, we're going to start to see now an uptick in overall mobile malware activity. Whether it's going to get to the place or get to the same volume as a PC, I think is anyone's guess at this point. I mean, people have predicted this for quite some time. And it's certainly one of these predictions where it's taking a lot longer to kind of bear fruit in many ways. But I expect that we are seeing an uptick, and it's going to continue. And the real question is how fast it continues and the rate at which it continues. So I'll stop this video right here. In the next video, I'll talk more about how mobile malware works and maybe do a bit more of a detailed taxonomy.